But first up, here on Undisputed on this Friday, this is a Dallas Cowboy stunner for me. This is Dez Bryant, the ex-Cowboy, tweeting this. Dak and myself just finished a great workout session. Picked up where we left off. Last time I checked, where they left off was a 2017 in which they weren't very good together. And that's the last time Dez Bryant played in an NFL football game. And Dez also posted a picture of himself and Dak and a couple of other receivers at the workout with their arms all draped around each other. We'll get to that in just a second. But Shannon, I'm going to let you go first on this as always. What do you make of all this?
You talking about the photo? Or let's start with the photo first, Skip. Skip, why is it so hard?
All of the above. Yes.
Skip, they watch TV. They see where this thing is heading, and they still. So I just want people to understand, and I hope nothing, they don't contract this virus and get ill, but you're putting yourself in harm's way, and you keep doing it. It's okay. If you want to work out with the guy, just don't do that, because it shows that you have a blatant disregard for what's going on in our country. Skip. Dez tweeted that photo out and we picked right up where we left off. Skip, let me refresh people how they left off. Skip, did you know Dak's last year with Dez was his worst in terms of completion percentage, yards per attempt, and interception? And it was his second lowest QBR ever. That's picking up right where they left off. A lot of Dak's interception was because Dez was not getting separation, and he was forcing the ball to Dez because that's what Dez had to become accustomed to with Tony Romo. Because he wasn't technically sound, he couldn't get in and out of breaks, Skip. Just throw it up and I'll make a play for you. Well, in the process of doing that, Dak was putting the ball in harm's way, and it was getting intercepted, and everybody was looking at Dak crazy. Well, this is what Jason Garrett says. This is how Dez made his bones in the NFL. This is what I'm going to continue to do. Now, Skip, the guru, Will McClay, who's done the lion's share of the drafting, who's put this team together, this is what he said when they released Dez Bryant, and the reason for why they released Dez Bryant. He said it was his inability to win one-on-one and consistently win downfield. There were some other inconsistencies in his game. We felt best moving forward, it was to be without Dez Bryant. That's what Will McClay said 2 years ago, and before the Achilles injury. So let me process this. Let me try to visualize this. Dez has never been a burner. Dez has never been technically sound as far as route running. When we think of route running, we don't think of Dez Bryant. So 2 years, not a route runner, Achilles injury, and now he's going to come back. And he's talking about playing the role that Randall Cobb. Skip, the things that separates the top three receivers, I like Julio, some people like Mike Thomas, some people like DeAndre Hopkins. They move left, right, slot, motion. When have you ever known Dez Bryant to play mainly the slot? Because that's what Randall Cobb did. Because that's the role he wants to fulfill. What has happened, Skip, is that Dez says, Jerry, you gave Jason Witten an opportunity to come back after being away. Give me that same opportunity. That's what this is about, Skip. See, Dez could not process. Dez could not, Skip, his heart was broken when the Cowboys moved on. That's why he turned down that 3 years, $21 million from the Ravens, because he could not get out of his mind. It was like, if I'm not in this blue and silver, if I don't have 88 and the star on my helmet, Skip, I'm not Dez. I'm nothing. And now he wants to come back. Skip, I wish him well. I just don't think it's going to turn out well for him or the Cowboys.
Unfortunately, you make way too many good points, but I'm going to refute your final takeaway. But before I get to that, Mr. Sharpe, I need to echo your sentiments about said posted picture. We talked about one yesterday on the show, posted by Lamar Jackson with Antonio Brown, Marquise Brown, the cousins, the workout in Miami. I just cringe and I wince when I see these pictures posted, the Dak Dez picture. and again, echoing all of your sentiments from the bottom of my heart, feels like this country's at war right now with a runaway virus, a disease. And I just wish our athletes, our superstars, could set a better example by not posting these pictures. Everybody's under stay-at-home orders. Everybody's trying to do their part to defeat this runaway virus. And here we are having to open our show on a Friday on Undisputed, asking athletes to please stay home and stay out of posting pictures after workouts in which you're throwing sweaty footballs, catching sweaty footballs. Again, I'm sure it's going on behind closed doors everywhere. I'm not even going to doubt that Tom Brady is somewhere right now throwing passes to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, but they're not going to post about it because they're going to do it in their own confines, behind closed doors, and maybe there's a way to do that safely. But Shannon, to your point, you're sending such a bad message to everybody who's trying to do their part as an American to stop the spread of this virus in America. And they need to look no further at the invincible athletes who started the dominoes falling. Rudy Gobert, I will always remember now as the first sort of victim of coronavirus, right? And he scoffed at it. Remember, he did the press conference where he was laughing at even the possibility of this virus spreading, and he's touching all the reporters' microphones and making a joke out of it. And he looked about as bad as you could ever look. And then obviously it's Donovan Mitchell, his teammate. Then it's Kevin Durant getting the virus. And then it's Sean Payton and on and on. So I just ask our athletes, if you need to work out in privacy and secrecy, that's fine. Just don't post it. It's just a bad look. Okay, so we got that off our chest. We're both at home today doing the show, and we don't want to be at home. We'd much rather be, I'm about a 2-minute drive from the Fox studios. I'd rather be there right now, and I miss it dearly, and maybe sometime sooner than later we'll be back there if everybody will do their part. But now back to Dez Bryant. Shannon, I still believe, as crazy as it sounds, there could be some place for Dez to return to the Cowboys in a very limited role, in, dare I say, a humbled role, even after 2 years and an Achilles tear that cost him his shot with Sean Payton in New Orleans and Drew Brees, because they signed him 9 games into that season after he was cut. And you know what happened? 2 practices in, he tears his Achilles tendon. So I still believe Dez loves Dallas enough that he would, if he would take another one of those bargain basement deals, that Jerry loves him enough. And apparently, I didn't know Dak even liked him. This was a big message sent from Dak Prescott, and he knows full well what will happen if you post a picture like this. He knew Dez was going to post it, that the message will be sent to Cowboy Nation. I'm still good with him. So could Dez come back and at least play a quasi Jason Witten role as the 3rd and 3 receiver, or the red zone receiver, the 3rd and goal from the 4 receiver, who might be able, with his big body, just to bounce somebody off like Jason used to do, sort of shield somebody off, wall somebody off, and make a big catch for 3 or 4 yards that would give you a first down or a touchdown. That's all I'm looking at here. And it seems like Jerry and Stephen Jones, and even now Dak Prescott, are open to that. What do you think of that role?
Skip, I remember his last year there in Dallas. You said, I am ready for this to end. I'm done with Dez Bryant. He was my favorite player. I used to throw up the X, but I am done with Dez. He can't run. Dak throws the ball to him. It's getting picked off. We saw the Skip. You remember what happened in Denver? 102 yards by Keith to lead the other way. You remember what happened in Seattle? You remember it was time after time after time. Normally when Dak threw the ball to Dez, bad things normally happen. It's hard for me to believe, having played this game, and I like to think I played at an elite level. Skip, you do not get faster. You do not get better as you start to age, especially if you were slow to begin with. And that's what Skip, it wasn't like Dez was a Tyreek Hill speed, and now all of a sudden he's, above average NFL speed. He was average to begin with. Now he's below average.
Yep.
He's heavier. He was never technically sound. We don't look at him and say, oh, man, that's Amari Cooper out there running routes like that. That's Julio running routes like that. That's one of these elite receivers that can run routes. That's not how we looked at Dez. We've always looked at Dez as a big physical receiver that was plus 50% on the jump balls. Then it became, Skip, he was less than 50% on the jump balls, and that was really all they could throw him. So I just don't, Skip, I get it. He wants to come back. He wants to play. He didn't want his career to end like that. But Skip, let me ask you a question. Okay, he comes back and plays that role. There's the narrative has already been set. Dez, you had 8-9 years to fix this, to work out there like you're working out now with Dez. I mean, Dak, you should have been working on your route running skills like that. Those are things you should have done in the beginning. But see, it's always, Skip. You know why I was able to walk away, Skip? Because I had put all that time. I had done everything I possibly could to get something out of my career. So I was able to walk away head held high. I keep saying Dez. Dez feels that he's missed out on something. Skip, time is the one thing that you cannot recapture. It's gone. Once it's gone, if you lose money, Skip, you can make that up. Relationship, you fall out of love, you might find someone who you loved even more than the person you thought you couldn't live without. But time, once it's gone, there is no recapturing it. Dez, you're not getting that time that you lost. I don't know what you're doing in the offseason, but there was a lot of things that you should have been doing that you weren't doing. And it's gone. So I wish him well, Skip. Hey, come back out there. But you know what? He's in the right place because Jerry Jones is just foolish enough to sign Dez Bryant.
And thank you for bringing that up. To your point, remember when Jerry did his big media session at the Combine, sitting on his big Dallas Cowboy touring bus with the media gathered inside the bus, out of nowhere, Jerry suddenly said, I've been thinking about shower. It should not be dismissed, said Jerry Jones. I'm thinking about it. So Jerry's saying, when I'm in the shower, my mind is wandering to, should we bring back Dez Bryant? And the reason he was even thinking about it is because Stephen Jones said that Dez had been texting him, I'm yours. I'm ready to come back under whatever circumstance, under whatever condition, I'll be a Dallas Cowboy. Well, obviously, they're now in the mode of bargain basement signings. They still haven't secured Dak. They got the franchise tag on him, obviously, but they're trying to frantically get that deal done long-term with Dak. They overpaid for Amari because they were almost forced to keep him $100 million. They've overpaid a lot of Dallas Cowboys. DeMarcus Lawrence, obviously, a year ago. You can argue the offensive line. You could even argue Jalen Smith if you so desire. No. Because of that, they've made a lot of overpay who?
They didn't overpay. Hold on, Skip. You just told me. Remember that anonymous GM yesterday? Say we're not supposed to evaluate players on 2019. So DeMarcus Lawrence, Jalen Smith, that offensive line, we're not going to evaluate them on that. We're going to evaluate them on their best seasons like we do Tom Brady.
Okay, but timeout. You're misinterpreting what the anonymous quote was yesterday. He said, if you think that what you saw from Tom last year was decline, you're way off base. So he was evaluating Tom last year with no help around him, saying, I'm evaluating that guy as losing none of his skills at going on age 43. Now, back to this point. The Dallas Cowboys are now in the mode of making bargain basement deals, and they've made a whole bunch of them. Gerald McCoy, Dontari Poe, and obviously Aldon Smith came out of nowhere, out of left field, but they got him for a $2 million base, and they could cut him and have no liability there if they so desired. And then obviously Randy Gregory could come back if, in fact, he could get reinstated along with Aldon Smith. And here we go now with Dez, you could get him on a minimum deal. He got his big contract, you recall, after the 2014 season going into 2015. So he got paid by Jerry. And now Jerry's thinking, well, I could bring him back in a limited role. Jerry loves him, obviously. Dez loves the Dallas Cowboys. He's from Lufkin, Texas, and grew up a huge Cowboy fan. So I'm getting desperate. I admit it, because they're strapped against the cap because they still don't know how much Dak is going to cost in the end. And for Dak to send this social media message via Dez, hey, I'm kind of greasing the skids here. I'm opening the door. I'm replanting the seeds. I'm saying let's clear the decks to bring back Dez Bryant, because we may need him if, in fact, we don't land a receiver in the draft. I don't know. Mel Kiper has CeeDee Lamb falling to the Cowboys. If that happens, I'd be like, thank you, God, and there'd be little to no need for Dez Bryant. But I'm not sure I'm not sure CeeDee's going to last to their pick at number 17. So what I'm saying is, I look at 2016, which was Dak's rookie year, and he and Dez were pretty good together all the way up to that frantic, epic comeback against Aaron Rodgers in the playoff game. And in that game, Dez Bryant caught 9 balls for 132 yards. That worked. But then, to your point, 2017 was an absolute start-to-finish disaster for Dez and Dak, because they displayed little to no rapport, wavelength, chemistry. They were just never on the same page. Dez had career lows in every category across the board. He was second in the league in drops. His receptions to drop rate was 13.8%, which was second worst among the 36 with 100-plus targets. So you can just see he was at the bottom of the barrel of receivers in the league in the last year that we saw him. But again, he got humbled. He got pushed out the back door. He tore his Achilles tendon, and he's had to sit home on his couch tweeting about pro football instead of playing pro football. And then we did get to see him, as you recall, Shannon. Patrick Mahomes blessed him by asking him to come to a workout in Fort Worth, where Patrick is always trained in the offseason. He was throwing him passes. I thought he looked okay. You thought he looked slow. But I thought in the Patrick Mahomes video that I saw, Dez looked okay. His body looked okay. He didn't look fat. He didn't look completely out of shape. He looked pretty good to me. So I'm starting to think that they're desperate enough that they think they might need Dez Bryant in some kind of limited role to help replace almost Jason Witten more than Randall Cobb. Your thoughts?
But Skip, here's the thing. They could have. Do you believe that Dez Bryant would have restructured his contract? They flat out released it. No restructuring, no minimum deal. They flat out released it. Skip, if they don't, you could have had him at a discount then, because remember, he was available. He was there. Normally what happens when we want a guy and we want him on a reduced salary, we come to you. We says, okay, this is what we're looking to do now. We need some cap space. We want you, but we can't pay you the salary that you're scheduled to make. Would you be willing to restructure at a lower rate? The player can either say yay or nay. They didn't even ask Dez this. They flat out released it. Skip, in their last year together, Skip, Dak-Dez combo ranked last in passer rating, second worst in completion percentage among the 26 combos that had at least 100 targets. But they picked right up where they left off. Let that sink in. He said they picked right up where they left off, and they were the worst of 26 combos that had at least 100 targets.
Okay, you got me on that. But what I'm trying to say is the Cowboys are in more of a desperate mode than they've been for several years. And the point is, the desperation has actually helped them upgrade on defense. I know they lost Byron Jones, and I know they lost Jeff Heath, and I know they lost Robert Quinn, and on and on and on. But the upgrades at low money, I didn't even mention HaHa Clinton Dix at safety, who's a much better cover safety than Jeff Heath ever dreamed of being. So the defense, it's gotten a little older, but it's gotten a little better. And I like the fact that they have the new coordinator, Mike Nolan, and Mike McCarthy's new mindset. I promise you that defense will be better than last year when it was pretty sorry, pretty pretty consistently. The offense last year, Shannon, I remind you, it led the whole league in yards gained. But it's a little worse right now because Travis Frederick is gone. The Pro Bowl, he was on a Hall of Fame arc, and obviously he had his immune deficiency syndrome that he was fighting, and God bless him, he had to retire. So it's a huge loss in the middle of that line. I thought the line declined a little bit last year. And then Randall Cobb, who had a very good year on a bargain basement deal of $5 million a year, got $9 million a year for 3 years guaranteed to go to Houston because they were so desperate after they gave away DeAndre Hopkins. So that was a big loss in the slot. And I don't have an answer there. I'm not sure where to go there. Again, they kept Amari. Gallup was emerging as a star last year. Amari, I'm not a big fan because he's home versus road. He's not a road warrior. You know what happened. He got 53 balls at home and 27 balls on the road, and he took himself out of the game immediately at the Jets, and they lost by 2. And he took himself out of the game because Stephon Gilmore was whipping him up in New England. It was just pathetic. And then he got taken out of the game late in Philadelphia. He got benched because he was running half-hearted routes and just breaking off routes because he was losing heart against the Eagles at Philadelphia in a game in which Dak was trying to play with a bum shoulder. So I don't have great respect anymore for Amari. And so I'm saying, well, at least Dez is a gamer. You know, at least he's got a big heart. At least I saw flashes in 2016 of a Dez-Dak rapport and combination. So I'm saying
Skip, that was
maybe
4 years ago.
Maybe this could be okay, but Aldon Smith was 5 years ago, and we're taking a shot at him.
Exactly.
And, you know, Randy Gregory was 3 years ago, and we're probably going to take a shot with him. What else am I supposed to say? I got nothing. Hey, we'll be the freshest team in pro football. Everybody's going to be fresh because nobody will have played for several years. So the NFL better get ready. We're ready to play 32 games in the regular season next year because our guys haven't played for several years.
I cannot believe this. My partner, my homie, Skip Bayless, is pinning his Super Bowl's hopes and aspirations on guys that have not been good for 5 years, for 4 years, for 3 years. Really, Skip? If this is what you're pinning your hopes on, is this what you're pinning going to Tampa on guys that have not played good or played at all in a very, very long time? Please tell me that's not true. Please tell me there's something else that you're holding out for.
I never said my team is going to Tampa next year. I made the mistake of jinxing my team a year ago, saying they were going to Miami, which would have been your worst nightmare because that was a Fox Super Bowl, and we were there on South Beach all week long, and it was a great week. But my Cowboys were not there. They were nowhere to be found because I jinxed them a year ago, and I'm not going to do it again. You have not heard one word come out of my mouth about the Cowboys winning the NFC. Now, maybe the NFC East, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. We're going to talk about it in a few minutes here. Again, Fox Bet sets the over-under on their wins at 9.5, 9.5. Could they get to 10 wins and be a wild card team under the new playoff format? Even you have admitted under the new playoff format with a 7th seed on each side, maybe my Cowboys eke in the back door with the number 7 seed. That's fine with me. Just get us in the tournament because by then, Dez and Aldon and Randy Gregory may be getting back into the rhythm of playing pro football after all those years off, and maybe they'll be more ready and willing and able to contribute in the postseason than in the regular season. So I'm not saying Super Bowl. I'm a little desperate, and I'm admitting to you, I see glaring holes because I see overpay, and they're about to have to overpay for Dak Prescott because he hasn't earned a Patrick Mahomes kind of contract just yet. I hope he will someday, but not yet. And he and his agent are holding out, not literally, but figuratively, for $40 million a year. And I just don't think he's worth that much, and neither at this moment does Jerry Jones.
You're talking about you're not going to mention anything about Super Bowl. They're not going to the playoffs. We're going to talk about that a little later, too.
Okay. Well, do we have Dew on that, as in Diet Mountain Dew?
No.
I've got a swimming pool out back here full of Diet Mountain Dew, thanks to Shannon Sharpe.
Because I believe it was Jerry Jones that put the pressure on. We need to add an extra playoff team because it would have been him. He would have benefited. He would have benefited the most from all those 8 and 8, 9
Maybe
and 7
so.
seasons for possibly having another team getting to the playoffs.
Okay. Well, at least we got rid of old 8 and 8 Garrett, old Coach Clapp. He's out the back door finally. It was way too long for that. He should have been fired in 2012. But at least I see a ray of hope. I see Mike McCarthy. I see potential to at least make the playoffs next year, which did not happen last year.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.